morning. I got my coffee brewing. I've done my yoga. Woke up at 4:30, so back on saddle, right? And I'm going to start reading for myself Animal Spirits. It's if you're interested in what it is how human psychology drives the economy and why it matters to global capitalism. Written by winners of the Nobel Prize in Economics. So that's what I'm going to be reading. It's a little bit easier to read than what's it called, the Napoleon Hill book. It's just the English that it's written in is kind of dated, and it's harder to I would say smoothly read across the page. It requires you to requires me to hang up a lot more just because of the way that it's the words are structured in the sentence. So I figured this one's a little easier to read at 5 in the morning. So I got coffee going, and then basically I'm gonna read until the toddler wakes up, and then I can actually make more noise, like actually doing my affirmations, because if I read those out loud, he wakes up. So I need to buy a better house. I want a little bit better noise insulation, or at least 2 stories. So there's a little bit more separation between the living space and the bedrooms. So, anywho, that's it for today. Gonna go to Seattle. I'm gonna drop off some final objects. I think the last part that we're missing is a painting and a mirror. Other than that, I'd love to show you photos after it's done. I'm gonna take professional photos myself. I invested in the camera and such because I wanted to do the photos for my own listings, since I quite enjoy the process. And I can control the time and when the photographer shows up, because that's me. Anyway, that's it for this Saturday morning. Time to drink a cup of coffee and read a book and learn something. All right, later. Step 3 from the Cash Flow Quadrant. It's called Know the Difference Between Risk and Risky. Businesses and investing are not risky, but being made undereducated is. What is proper cash flow management? Proper cash flow management begins with really knowing the difference between an asset and a liability. The following diagram shows the properly managed cash flow of an individual who is 45 years old. So we have income going up, expenses going down, liabilities going down, assets going up, and the assets feed into income, and the income go to acquiring more assets. I use the age 45 because it is halfway between 25, the age when most people begin to work, and 65, the age when most people plan on retiring. By age 45, if a person has managed their cash flow properly, their asset column should be longer than their liability column. This is a person who takes risks but not excessive risk, and is in the upper 10% of the population. But if they do what the other 90% of the population does, which is mismanage their cash flow and not know the difference between an asset and a liability, then at age 45, their financial picture looks like this. Boom, uh-oh. What are we missing here, guys? We're missing assets. All we have is income, which goes to pay for liabilities, which add to our expenses, and everything goes up slowly as we get promotions at work, but as we know of lifestyle creep, expenses go up to pay for more liabilities, meaning you never leave the rat race. These are the people who most often say investing is risky. For them, it is risky, but not because investing is risky. It is their lack of knowledge and formal financial training that makes investing risky. Financial literacy. In Rich Dad Poor Dad, I explained that my rich dad demanded that I become financially literate. Financial literacy is not simply looking at the numbers on with your eyes, but also training your mind to tell you which way the cash is flowing. Rich Dad often said, quote, "The direction of cash flow is everything." So a house could be an asset or a liability depending on the direction of the cash flow. If the cash flows into your pocket, it is an asset. If it flows out of your pocket, it is a liability. Financial intelligence. Rich Dad had many definitions for financial intelligence, such as the ability to convert cash or labor into assets that provide cash flow. But one of his favorite sayings was, "Who is smarter, you or your money?" For rich dads, spending your life working hard for money only to have it go out as fast as it comes in is not a sign of high intelligence. You may want to review the cash flow patterns of a poor person, a middle-class person, and a rich person presented in Chapter 10. Remember that a rich person focuses his or her efforts on acquiring assets and not working harder. Due to the lack of financial intelligence, many educated people put themselves into positions of high financial risk. My rich dad called it the financial red line, meaning income and expenses are nearly the same every month. These are the people who cling desperately to job security, unable to change when the economy changes, and often destroy their health with stress and worry. And these are often the same people who say business and investing are risky. In my opinion, business and investing are not risky, but being undereducated is. Similarly, being misinformed is risky, and relying on a safe, secure job is the highest risk anyone can take. Buying an asset is not risky. Buying liabilities you have been told are assets are risky. Minding your own business is not risky. Minding everyone else's business and paying them first is risky. So step 3 is to know the difference between risk and risky. All right, here are our action steps. Number 1, define risk in your own words. All right, so it's a little ABCD of 1 and 2. So, starting with A. Defining your own words. A is relying on a paycheck risky to you. Yes, it is, because if you get laid off because of COVID and you don't have other sources of income, you rely on the government. And when the government, a lot of people got a lucky break here, but if you don't happen to have COVID stimulus, like say it was 4 years ago you got laid off, you'd be scrambling and trying to find new security. B is having debt to pay each month risky to you. Yes, because you're not putting it into assets and you're putting it towards somebody else's benefit. So every dollar you spend is actually, if you start looking at investment terms, there's something called the present value and future value of a dollar. So when we look at, developers do this all the time. Like, let's say they have $1 million today, and let's say they look at a building and they say, okay, in 30 years, how much could this $1 million be worth? And they say, okay, calculations. Okay, in 30 years, it'd be worth $5 million. Okay, is that worth it to us? Is the present value of $1 million worth of $5 million in the future, or is that present value of that money worth more to them? Either because they can put it into something else that can pay higher, or that they can, they'd rather have that $1 million and see if they can find more deals than stick it in a deal that does $5 million over 30 years. So yeah, by putting money into debt, you're essentially limiting yourself from ever acquiring assets. Is owning an asset that generates cash flow each month risky to you? This in our current, this is obviously a caveat, in our current real estate market, if you're looking to buy on the West Coast or the East Coast, chances are you're not going to find a place that cash flows. Seriously. You're going to find a place that appreciates much quicker. So I was actually listening to Bigger Pockets. David Green was talking about this, and he just put it quite plainly with using the tortoise and the hare example. On the West Coast or East Coast, you buy a property, it's like buying the tortoise. It doesn't cash flow, but it appreciates much quicker than something in Indiana, which would be the hare. So you buy a property in Indiana, cash flows immediately, but it doesn't have the appreciation, and it just kind of peters off in the amount of cash flow and appreciation. It's like one and done. Versus on the West Coast or East Coast, you buy something, maybe it doesn't even cash flow, maybe you're down $100 each month. But over 3 years, rent goes up, appreciation goes up, now you can do cash out refinance, and the rent goes up another, 10%. All of a sudden, you're cash flowing now $200 in a couple of years plus appreciation versus a property in Indiana. So he took a lot of deals when you can actually cash flow in, desirable areas of the country. Sorry, Indianans. Is spending time to obtain financial education risky to you? No, I do it in my spare time. It's instead of playing video games or audiobooks. Well, my audiobooks are financial education, so that's what I do in the commute too. Every time I commute, it's like, oh yeah, I gotta spend time improving myself and learning more. It's like every time I commute, I'm looking forward to it. E is spending time learning about different types of investments risky to you. I actually just invested into my first shit coin or meme coin or poop coin or whatever you want to call it, and dodge a bonk. So this is my first foray into crypto and how to get money from essentially your bank account to your credit card to Coinbase to it goes from Coinbase to my Trust wallet, from the Trust wallet to Change.io, and then it goes back into my wallet as a different currency, only to be then used on Pancake Swap to go from BNB coin into a token essentially. That was yeah. Anyway, I was watching another podcast and it's like the more diverse your investments are. Let's say you don't have any crypto, or maybe you don't have any bonds or something. If you actually have at least a little bit, you're going to be paying attention to what happens in that market. So like, I'm saying his name right again, Robert Kiyosaki was saying he bought just a little bit of Bitcoin, at the very beginning, just so he'd pay attention to what cryptocurrency is all about, because that was never in his wheelhouse. But by putting a little bit into that, he started paying attention to it and expanding his repertoire. All right, 2, commit 5 hours of your time each week to do one or more of the following. So this is, and take action. Read the business section of your newspaper and the Wall Street Journal. Nope. Listen to financial news on the television, radio. Yeah, I do that on YouTube. A lot less bias on YouTube, even though they're just, everyone's doing it for the clicks though. But, the information there is they cite news articles and Fed reports and shit. So it's still the stuff, it's without all the ads. Read financial websites, magazines, newsletters. Play the game Cash Flow. Attend educational seminars on investing, and I do watch stuff on YouTube about investing and financial education. I haven't attended any seminars. First of all, I don't have enough money. Second of all, I want to. I just COVID. Okay. Consider hiring a coach to help you work through the process of becoming financially free. I want to hire a coach eventually, but every time I'm like, what would a coach say? I know exactly what a coach would say, and I'm like, well, of course, that's what I should be doing. You should just have to play your own devil's advocate, or I guess your coach's advocate. Like, in order to get clients right now, what should I be doing? Should I just be sitting on my butt and doing nothing? Oh, you should be doing this and that. You should be talking to strangers. Okay, thanks, coach. Yeah, the more people you talk to, the more people you know, right? Okay. That's it for number 3. I'm going to go into number 4 here, so stay tuned for tomorrow, actually.